Hello again, it's Mr. Stringer here, and today we are going to go through another PowerPoint where I'm going to be teaching you, just like we did last week. Remember, I'll guide you through the daily learning in this video, but at some points I will ask you to pause the video, maybe complete a little task. It's also a good opportunity to go back and re-watch the video as many times as you need to, or go through the PowerPoint as many times as you need to. Just to remind yourself of any of the learning that you might have missed out. Okay, so this week we are going to be writing a formal letter. Some of you might have realised this because at the end of last week I asked you to find the address of a local nursing home or member of parliament or a local hospital to you, and that's actually who we're going to be writing to this week. So let's get going. What are the features of a formal letter? Now, some of these will be different and some of these will be the same as last week. So pause the video now, have a little think. What are the features of a formal letter? Okay, so here's one that will stay the same. With a formal letter, we still write in first person. The letter is written from us, so we would use words like I, me, they, he, she. We'd still use first person. We would still use perfect present tense, which in the examples I saw from last week were fantastic. Perfect present tense is when we're writing in the current moment, and we might refer to the future or the past, but we're writing in this moment now. With all letters, we know we need to include an address and a date. And these will be the same as our informal letters, so they will still be in the top right-hand corner. Okay. A new thing now, we will need a formal greeting. Now, the majority of us are going to be writing to someone who we do not know. That's what makes this letter a bit more formal, the fact that we don't necessarily know the person we're writing to. Now, when we're writing to someone who we don't know, because we're not very familiar, we don't want to say things like, "Hi there, how's it going? What are you up to?" None of that stuff. It's formal. You're making a good impression on a new person. So we would start our letter by saying, "Dear Sir," or "Dear Madam." Sometimes you might say things like, "To whom it may concern," which is just a fancy way of saying to the person who's currently reading this letter. So we'll use a formal greeting. We will have an introductory paragraph. And in a formal letter, this is a lot more important because in your introductory paragraph, that is where you tell the reader exactly why you're writing. Remember, it's not someone that we know. They don't understand why we're writing. They haven't worked that out yet. They don't know who we are. So we need to explain in the first paragraph what it is that we're writing to them for. We will have main paragraphs, and we will have a concluding paragraph. Now, similar to our introductory paragraph, this is also quite important because it tells the person who's reading the letter what needs to happen next. We might want to tell them if we are expecting a reply. We might want to tell them that it's okay, they don't need to write back. We just wanted to write them a letter. We might have a question, and we might say in our concluding paragraph, "You need to answer this question for me." And the final thing we'd be looking for is a signing off. Now, when we close our letter, yet again, because this is not somebody that we know, it's a formal letter, we would sign off by saying, "Yours faithfully," and then your name. So, those are the 8 features that we will look for in a formal letter today. We're going to talk now about the grammatical features that I will see in a formal letter. So, I'll ask you to pause, have a think, what are the grammatical features I need in a formal letter? Now, some of these might be similar to last week, but some will be new because of who we're writing to. Okay, pause the video now, have a think about it, and then press play when you're ready. Okay, we will be writing in first person, such as I, me, we, they, he, she. We know we'll be writing in the perfect present tense. These are grammatical features we've spoken about. We will use a formal tone. So a formal tone is where we might speak in a more sophisticated way. You might take this as an opportunity to show off some interesting vocabulary, or it's almost as if you were speaking to your head teacher or a very important member of your family. You wouldn't be casual and chilled out. You might speak to them a bit more politely, and that's what a formal tone would be. We need to use conjunctions, just like last time. Words like but, so, because, although, since, unless. And this is where it gets a bit different. So, we will be writing paragraphs that are based on specific things. So because we're writing to someone that we don't know, we need to be quite clear with that. We need to give details, so specific examples of the reasons that we're actually writing. And part of the specific examples, we will use technical language. Now, technical language, they're just words to do with why we are writing. So if you are writing to a footballer, technical language might be words like football, or goalkeeper, or offside, or training, things like that. If you're writing to a baker, technical language might be things like cake, or flour, mixing bowl. That's technical language. It's language to do with why we are writing. And that's very important in a formal letter. And we know that we will also be using a wide range of punctuation, such as full stops, commas, apostrophes for possession and contraction, exclamation marks, hyphens. So, have a read through those and see if you can tell somebody in your home what the grammatical features of a formal letter are. See if you can explain to them what technical language is and why it's so important. Okay, pause the video now and press play when you're ready to carry on. Okay, we're now going to have a look at an example of a formal letter. Now, in this example, we can see the address and the date, and we've also included the address of the person we are writing to. So it's from Stanbury Primary School, and we're writing to Stanbury County Council. Now, you can put the address you're writing to on the outside of the envelope, or you can put it on the inside on the left-hand side like this. Sometimes when you get a letter, there will be like a little window cut out in the envelope where you can see the address. We're not going to do that today. We're going to write our address on the back of the envelope like we did last time. You can see the date there, just underneath our address. And on the left-hand side, we can see a formal greeting. Dear Mr. Mayor. Now I can tell that's formal because they've used the word dear, and they've tried to address the mayor in quite a formal way. Mr. Mayor, okay? In the first paragraph, those first 3 lines, I'm going to ask you to read them and work out if the writer has introduced themselves and the letter well. Okay, so pause the video now and press play when you're ready. Okay, in the first 3 lines here, the person introduces themselves. They say, my name is Martha Stewart and I am in class 5P at Stanbury Primary School. We already know who the person is and what school they go to. That's important. I've got a feeling that the letter might have something to do with the school. It says, I am writing to ask if you would be able to come and open our amazing vegetable patch and school garden on Tuesday, the 22nd of March at 2 p.m. Bingo! I was right. The reason that Martha Stewart told us what school she goes to is because the letter has got something to do with her school. So anything to do with her school would be technical vocabulary. She's even explained why she is writing. It says it just there. I am writing to ask you. Brilliant. She's writing to ask something. So I know exactly why this person is writing. Fantastic. Now, in the next paragraph, she gives a bit more detail and she tells us a little bit more. Mr. Mayor might need to hear a little bit more about why they should go and open the vegetable patch and school garden. So I've got a feeling that Martha is going to convince Mr. Mayor here. Now your task, when you read this next paragraph, is to see if you can find technical vocabulary. Now that's vocabulary and words that link to the reason that Martha is writing. Okay? Read through that next paragraph and press play when you're ready. Okay, it says there, we've been working hard on this area for the last 2 years and now produce many different crops which are used in our school dinners. Brilliant. Words like crops, school dinners, those are terms that link to the reason that Martha is writing. It says each class has to look after one section of the vegetable patch, and we voted to decide what each class would like to grow. Okay, words like grow, vegetable patch, that is technical vocabulary that links to why Martha is writing. Our class chose potatoes. Potatoes is technical vocabulary in this sentence. Our head teacher, Mr. Barrett, I really like that embedded clause. Children in year 4, I would definitely expect to see an embedded clause like that there. Our head teacher, Mr. Barrett, organised a school sunflower growing competition and our class came first. We have also planted hundreds of daffodil bulbs ready for spring. So words like sunflower growing, hundreds of daffodil bulbs, words like planted, they're all to do with gardening. They all link back to the school garden and veg patch. Fantastic. Now in these last two parts, we can see Martha is sort of giving a bit of a personal reason as to why she likes gardening. If you remember previously, we were talking about using specific examples. Now this is Martha using a specific example. It says, I really enjoy spending time in our garden because I think that it is a peaceful place and a wonderful experience to see things growing. Brilliant. Now, read the concluding paragraph, these last 3 lines, and remember in our concluding paragraph to someone who we don't know, what we really need to do is tell them what to do next. So we might request that they reply, we might request that they answer our questions, or we might just say, thank you very much for reading my letter and I hope you have a lovely day, and just finish it there. So read that last paragraph and see which one Martha decides to use. Off you go. Okay, it says, after the opening, we would like to invite you to a special celebration tea party with our school counsellors and School Gardener of the Year, voted for by the pupils. We really hope you will be able to join us. Okay, so what do you think? Did Martha tell the reader to respond? Did she ask them a question? Or did she just kind of finish off the letter and say, thanks, bye? Yeah, I think Martha sort of, she's clearly trying to convince somebody here. In that last sentence, she says, we really hope you will be able to join us. But I think this letter would be better if Martha said to Mr. Mayor, please write back soon. I would really love for you to join us. It would be so important. I look forward to hearing back from you very soon. That would be a much more convincing way to tell the reader what they need to do next. So I'd like to see that in your letters. And just there we can see she has signed off by saying, yours faithfully. That is the right way to sign off in a formal letter. And she's signed her name and then typed it there as well. Okay, so let's recap. There were 8 features of an informal letter that we talked about earlier. See if you can list them off by heart and then press play to see if you got them all right. Off you go. Okay, so we know that we need to write in first person. We know we're going to use the perfect present tense. We know we are going to have the address and the date. We're going to have a formal greeting, such as dear sir or madam, an introductory paragraph explaining why we're writing. We're going to have our main paragraphs. We're going to have a concluding paragraph where we tell the person we're writing to what they need to do next. And finally, we're going to sign off by saying yours faithfully. Those are the 8 features we're looking for today. Next, can you remember the 8 grammatical features that we discussed earlier? So, we know that we need to write in first person. We know that we need to write in perfect present tense. That's where we're writing in the current moment, but we might refer to the past or the future. We are going to be using formal tone, that nice, sophisticated, slightly more polite way of speaking. We're going to use conjunctions. And then we said that we need our paragraphs to be based on specific things. So, for example, the way that Martha talked specifically about why she enjoys being in the garden. That was a specific detail that she included. And we need to be using technical language throughout, which are words that have something to do with the why we're writing. And finally, as ever, we know to include a wide range of punctuation. And see if you can use all of these elements of punctuation in your own letter later on. Okay, well done everybody. Tomorrow we're going to start planning our formal letters. So, have a great day.